afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Trader Merlin Show for your trading week wrap-up, your weekend edition. Apologize. No whiskey for me today. A little under the weather, and I figure whiskey probably is not going to help me there, so I've been going with water all day. Throat's raspy, sinuses are all congested, but we're going to do a show anyway. We'll fight through it. I was mentioning at the end of yesterday's show that I wasn't sure whether I'd be doing a show on Monday. I will. I'll be doing a show on Monday. It's next Thursday and Friday that we won't be doing a show, obviously because of Thanksgiving, and I think many of you will probably be out and about anyway, and why would you want to listen to this on Thanksgiving? So yeah, no show next Thursday, Friday, but I will do one on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday to calm all of your market needs. So here's the graphic for today. Yeah, right, Gary says, what a great week. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you step back and look at the grand scheme of things, what happened this week, I mean, phenomenal. And some of the stuff I'm going to talk about today, you know, you had, since I got stopped out, I stopped myself out of my position on super microcomputer, things got up 70%. What a difference a week can make, you know. I get out of that thing, take a couple $100 loss, and all of a sudden the amount of gain would have been absolutely massive had I just stayed in it, but it's okay, no worries. We got other things like the top train here, which is Bitcoin. We'll talk about that in just a second as well. All in all, it was a wild week, a lot going on. And Margaret actually texted or tweeted out today that Bitcoin futures hit 100,000. I didn't see that. Gotta say, I didn't see it. Here's the spot price right now at 99,500. Now we're looking at the futures market, which haven't rolled over yet. Oh, did we get above it? We did. 100,000. We did. My apologies. Did that just happen? Let me see if this just happened. No, it happened earlier today. Huh. That's weird. I was on a different computer and I didn't see this quote over. So we did break 100,000 on the futures side. We did not break it on the spot price. So we're almost there. We'll probably break that here shortly. I was really hoping it would happen today during regular business hours, but there you are. Your high for the spot market intraday was 99,800. 99,800. So dang close to breaking that milestone, but it's going to happen. I mean, it's one of those things that it becomes almost a foregone conclusion. You know, years ago when I was on CNBC, in January of 2007, I believe. Gosh, it's on YouTube somewhere. Just type in Merlin Rothfield CNBC and you'll see it. But they asked me what my thoughts were on the price of gold, and I forgot what number it was, but like, oh, do you think that gold's going to go to 2,000 or something like that? And I said, yeah. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. When everybody is talking about a number, and again, right now, everyone in the world is talking about Bitcoin 100,000. Everyone. It will get to it. It'll get to it, and then we'll have the difficulty is what happens once it gets there. The wall of sellers at 100,000 is huge. I saw some graphics earlier. I didn't bring them up for today, but there's a huge pile of people looking to sell at 100,000. So I anticipated hitting it, selling off, but every time chipping away at that and ultimately breaking through. Let's not forget that Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy just raised $3 billion, and it's specifically for buying more Bitcoin, which, let's be honest, could happen this weekend. And if they're going to try to buy $3 billion worth of Bitcoin, where are they going to get it from? Remember, there's not like some warehouse that you go and they have just plenty of as much as you want. We have limited Bitcoin out there, and $3 billion. That's quite a stack. You're looking at 30,000 Bitcoin. Good luck on the open market. That's going to push prices much, much, much higher. Rob says, Merlin, I saw your video for Bart Show. It was excellent. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, Rod. Yeah, it's always fun working with the Bar Chart. Those guys are great over there, and every now and again they ask me to either come on their show or to do a video for them, so it's always fun. Glad you enjoyed it, and again, that video is just an opinion, just my thoughts on what the markets might do. I could be totally wrong, as you guys have seen me be wrong many times in the past. I've been right many times in the past. So bottom line is I have my money in it right now, believing in more upside potential, and we shall see. Hopefully it breaks 100,000 today. Herd shorts are stacked at 100,000 as well. That would not surprise me to see many people shorting there. Big Ed said, mine ain't for sale. Neither are mine. I'm bummed I don't have like 1,000 Bitcoin. I wish I would have gotten started this in the early 2009, 10, 11, 12 era, but I did not, unfortunately. Got into it a little bit later, but at least I'm before all the people trying to buy today. And John, when you get to a lofty number like 100,000, I don't have the wall here that I can show you of the. Actually, let me see if Coinbase has it. Coinbase may have it. They used to have. It's called like a mountain chart. Oops, let's go Coinbase. There we go. All right, let's see if Coinbase has this chart on their advanced platform. I thought they used to. Depth chart. Okay, there you guys go. Look at that chart. So what you're looking at here is these are sell orders that people are lined up to sell. And you can see that the buying is fairly sparse, right? You can see this slightly sloping green part to the left. That's all the buyers lined up. And then here you have the sellers lined up. And you notice that right at 100,000, it's like 99,990 something is this gigantic wall. Now it's only 1,000 Bitcoin, right? 1,000 Bitcoin. If MicroStrategy comes to market this weekend, this will go, like I said, this will go down faster than Puff Diddy's career. I mean, this will just evaporate. It'll be nothing, gone. But if it's just retailers like you and me, gobbling up 1,000 Bitcoin, that's quite a bit of money. That's quite a bit of capital. So there are definitely more sellers here. I have a feeling what you're going to see is it'll chip away and chip away. I'd love it if we could just kind of watch real time as this happen, because this is going to slowly move up here, and as it gets to this wall, some of these people will actually capitalize or cancel their orders, and you'll see this wall just diminish right away. The other part of it is there will be little buy orders chipping away, and it'll just start to shrink relatively slowly, depending on the order flow. It could happen quickly, and then all of a sudden, boom, it's going to scream to the upside. So something to keep an eye on if you have a Coinbase account or access to a depth chart here, but very visible. I mean, I'm zooming out pretty far here, and I mean, that is just an unbelievable wall. That's I don't know if anybody here is a Game of Thrones fan, but that's the big wall. Was it the Wall of the North? Was it the North Wall? I forget. Anyway, Bitcoin market cap just shy of $2 trillion. We'll be there soon. Hey, and Big Eb, if momentum keeps up like this, if Michael Saylor keeps buying it, it might be bigger than Apple, might be bigger than Microsoft, and could topple NVIDIA in the next few months. I mean, if it gets to my price target of 250,000, then it's going to be much bigger market cap than NVIDIA. It'll be $4 trillion, almost $5 trillion. So, yay, buckle up, let's go. All right, let me talk about a few other things. Obviously, the story, which is a thorn on my side, but I have no problem talking about, is SMCI. The main reason I jumped out of this bad boy was because I just had this sinking feeling that they were going to get delisted because it happened to them in the past. Been a phenomenal week. Let's see, I got out of them, was that Thursday or Friday? I think it was Thursday I got out. So I'm going to just call it that $18 mark. I don't remember exactly when. I had sold puts on it. So we're up 84% from that window of time. And again, this is just them submitting the documentation, getting themselves a new auditor, and at least on the right side of the page for now. It really depends on, I heard death chart. I could be slurring my words, Liz. I could be slurring my words. My throat's a bit raspy today. My apologies. No, I meant depth with a PTH in there, depth chart. Not a death chart. Definitely not. So this is probably one of the more impressive ones of the week would be Supermicro Computer, just a phenomenal move that it's had up this week. And, does it continue on? You have this big unfilled gap here that goes back to October 29th where it fell from about $47 all the way down to 34 on the open. That could theoretically close. It really depends on what those numbers look like. Again, I haven't seen them submit the financials that were missing or that were requested by the regulators with regards to what the auditor walked away from and said, this is unethical, I'm not going to do it. What is BDO going to do, right? Is BDO going to verify things and make it look good, and all of a sudden this thing pops back up? It very well could. So that was the big story for me, was SMCI this week. Just a little bit bitter that I jumped out for a loss on that one, but it is what it is. Then the other story we would talk about briefly is this one. The freight train that is Bitcoin keeps on rolling, and love it or hate it, it just keeps trucking. And haven't broke the 100,000 on the spot price just yet, but as you can see here, momentum looks great. A little bit slow down today, obviously because we're getting close to that 100,000 mark and going into the weekend. But strange things have happened over the weekend. I could see it breaking through by the time we come here on Monday. A smart money move in. Yeah, I know. Well, I'm the dumb money that got out of it just because I was a little bit scared. Didn't want to take that chance of them getting delisted. Because you guys, I mentioned this the other day. If you have something like SMCI and they do get delisted, at the time where we're making that comment, SMCI was down in the teens. It had just broken. I think I had the $23 puts. I don't remember. I think it was the $23 puts. And as it kept falling, I just went, if they get delisted, this thing's going to be in the single digits, and my average price is going to be 23. I don't want to be down $19 per share on this one. So I was like, I decided just to stay away from it. And you know what? I'd much rather jump out of something that makes me extremely nervous than hold on to it and get lucky. And SMCI was definitely a get lucky kind of play, but that's what it is. Onward and upward to the next one. So I'm going to talk a little bit about this topic here, which is the train keeps rolling. And I'm a big fan of rising tide floats all boats. Bitcoin, if you're talking that analogy of a rising tide floats all boats, Bitcoin is the ocean. It's the one that's pumping everything up and bringing everything down. You might get outliers every now and again, but if Bitcoin rallies 10%, pretty much everything else is going to rally with it, maybe more percentage-wise, but Bitcoin is the tide. So in looking at this chart, which we've definitely been focused on quite a bit recently, unbelievable momentum. We're at all-time highs. There's nothing to look back to the left-hand side of this chart. So it's just in discovery mode right now. Now, to that extent, when we look at Bitcoin, I mentioned, I think yesterday we talked about it. I said, look, if I had to say buy a coin, it'd be Bitcoin just because of the tailwinds that are now pushing Bitcoin higher and higher and higher. And the other one I mentioned is Cardano, because Cardano is tying in, getting very close with regulators. If you have never listened to Charles Hoskinson, you should certainly listen to his presentation on Lex Friedman. He does a very good job of conveying what crypto is, why it's important, the prospects, the opportunities, and what it does for humanity. That's one of the things that really kind of made me appreciate what digital assets is trying to do, and again, why I built such a big position for myself in it. Now, if you feel that way as well, then you might want to look at other alternatives within the crypto space. Obviously Bitcoin's great, Ethereum is, Solana, Cardano, a lot of big names out there, but Cardano has been on an absolute screamer of a tear, and I'm upset because mine all got taken away. You're up 22% today alone, up over $1, which is fantastic. I'll bring this up to a weekly time frame so you can see the past. It was definitely well over $1 back here in 2021, right? You're over $3, which was fantastic. I wish I would have sold back then, but I didn't. And again, one of the main reasons that I am such a big fan of Cardano is it has rabid following. Charles Hoskinson is kind of the face of it and one of the guys pushing the agenda for Cardano. And also, you look at the different things that Cardano has done as far as how to decentralize their platform so they're outside of regulation, right? If you are Cardano doesn't have one of the highest prices compared to the traffic. Yeah, it's also, there's a lot of tokens out there. So again, when you look at, or coins, when you look at a price, don't get fooled by what the price is. You've got to look at how many coins or tokens are outstanding, meaning how many are in circulation right now. And if you look at coin market cap, that'll help you understand this one a little bit. So Cardano is down here. Oh, it's back top 10. You have, I can't remember off the top of my head exactly how many Cardano there are. 45 billion. That's a lot, right? Especially when you look at something like Bitcoin, which has 21 million. Cardano's got 45 billion. So obviously it's going to be a much, much, much cheaper price. But as far as potential, and this is going to ruffle some feathers right here, as far as potential, I think Cardano has a bigger potential than Bitcoin from an application perspective. Let me explain. Bitcoin is predominantly a peer-to-peer payment network. It's that store of value. It's you being your own digital bank. And that's why you're hearing about central banks wanting to hold Bitcoin as a strategic reserve. The talk track right now by Cynthia Loomis is we are going to have Bitcoin as a strategic reserve for the U.S., meaning the U.S. government will actually be buying Bitcoin. And if you're a Bitcoin holder, you're just going, please, strategic reserve for Bitcoin, right? Cardano can be used as a peer-to-peer payment network. However, it has a whole ecosystem of other products. You've got NFT marketplaces, you've got DeFi exchanges, you've got lending protocols, you've got all these different financial services and products built on top of it. Plus, as I mentioned the other day, it's 20022 compliant, which now allows it to enter into agreements with banks around the world and be a money transmitter using Cardano. That's a huge advantage that it has over Bitcoin. Bitcoin is not 20022 compliant. So that's just one that I think should be in a portfolio. Unfortunately, like I said, lost mine due to Celsius. They gave me Bitcoin instead, which I guess is good, but Cardano is the only one high on my list I'd like to buy back into. Now, I saw another comment here. Is it closer than Solana? What do you mean closer than Solana? So Cardano and Solana are direct competitors. They're the same thing. They're a layer 1 blockchain with projects built on top of it. Cardano is far more decentralized, meaning you don't have one centralized entity controlling it. Cardano is a bit more centralized, but Cardano is significantly faster. You can do far more transactions on Solana. So I would own both, right? I would own both of those. Who is pushing Cardano? Charles Hoskinson. I've copied and put the link to the interview with Lex Friedman and Charles Hoskinson many times before, but he is now potentially, from a speed perspective, Solana does kill Cardano, absolutely. From a speed perspective. I believe Cardano is like 1,000 transactions per second, whereas Solana is 65,000 transactions per second, so that's a big one. Let me type in Hoskinson and Charles. So the reason Charles Hoskinson is becoming much more of a household name and much more relevant is, again, because he's working with the Trump administration. He may be on the advisory council. He's on Capitol Hill pushing the agenda, not of Cardano specifically, but of cryptocurrency as a whole. So to me, that's big. And that's really, really, really big. So anyway, just want to throw that one out there because it's been one of the high flyers here over the past couple weeks has been Cardano, and Solana as well. So this is a weekly chart, just so you guys can see. The last 3 weeks for all of my friends here, everybody here that's involved in crypto, these last 3 weeks have just bring a smile to your face, right? You're just like, God, that's great. And I do agree with that statement there. They should both be in your crypto portfolio. You know, I've given a presentation for Trading Academy several times where I talk about the mistakes I made in the past. Of course, they're infinite, right? I got so many mistakes. We've all made them. But this specific mistake was about the dot-com bubble. And if you look back at the dot-com era, many of you may not have been actively trading back then. I was a high-speed day trader back then. I was averaging 550 trades a day in the late 90s and trading Amazon and Netscape and Xilinx, all the KLA 10 core, crazy. In that period of time, I was so focused on just short-term trading, scalping, buying at the bid, selling at the ask, and doing that hundreds of times a day, that I wasn't thinking about this technology is going to change the future. And, you know, at the time, I knew the internet was incredible. I knew it was amazing. But for some reason, I was just too ignorant and arrogant to jump on it and analyze and say, you know what, I need to buy the key players now. Because in hindsight, I had no idea, right? No idea which companies were going to be the leaders. If you, with a straight face, tell me that in 1998, that you thought Amazon was going to be one of the most dominant companies in the world, you are lying through your teeth. There's no way you would have said that. And if you're thinking, well, I would have said that, Merlin, I'll show you. Let's go type in Jeff Bezos, Amazon, 1998. Just so you can see the picture. So there's some funny ones of him in his office. Here's Jeff Bezos. And this was the picture that was circulating. You tell me you're going to buy this company? Sorry, this is 1995. You were going to invest in this one thinking this is going to dominate the internet back in 1995? No way. No, absolutely not. They started selling books. I mean, this is ridiculous. Like, he just got a can of spray paint and tagged his wall with an Amazon.com logo, right? None of us would have figured out what it's going to be today. However, what I could have done is said, I'm going to build a portfolio. And maybe it's Amazon, maybe it's Netscape, maybe it's GeoCities, maybe it's eBay, and build a portfolio of 15, 20 different companies. Over the next few years, you know, most of those companies disappeared. A lot of them disappeared. And even though, and in the analysis, the comparison I do for Trading Academy is I had 15 companies in the portfolio, and I said, let's say you bought $1,000 of each of these 15 companies. And I quiz and say, how many of these companies are still there? The answer is 2. 2 out of those 15 in that portfolio still exist. So on paper, you're like, what a loser, right? You only write 2 out of 15, you suck. Well, then you had Amazon plus eBay, which had monumental rates of return. You're talking hundreds of thousands of % rate of return on your capital just for those 2 winners. And that's how I'm approaching crypto. I'm not making that same mistake. Maybe I'm the old bull now as opposed to the young bull back in the late 90s. But it's like I've got a portfolio with like 30 cryptos in it. And it was 39. I shrunk it down. And I don't know which one's going to make it. To Big Ev's point, Cardano, Solana, I think should both be in your portfolio. Absolutely. I don't know which one will be the dominant one. At this point, it feels like Solana is going to take that lead, right, and be the more dominant one. But I don't know. Something could happen. they could get shut down. They've got a different structure than Cardano. I think Ethereum needs to be in your portfolio. I think Chainlink needs to be in your portfolio. Obviously, Bitcoin is a no-brainer, but there's dozens of other platforms that may have potential. The key for anyone here who's looking at cryptocurrency and digital assets is not to just buy something because you heard it on YouTube channel or some social media influencer is telling you this thing's amazing. Do your research. I taught a class, was it yesterday, and we just went through, someone asked about Dogecoin. So I did a very structured approach, and I go through and I say, what is this project attempting to do? How are they doing it? Do they have a team in place? Who's invested in it? Who's the competition? Is it a unique idea? Where are they listed on? Which exchanges can I trade this thing on? Is there liquidity? How many tokens are there? Can you trade them? How many are tradable versus how many are out there? All these factors, and plus many, many others, will allow me to have an objective view of a company without being opinionated. So when I make these statements about Cardano, I'm looking at all those factors. And for that reason, I think Cardano's going to do pretty well over the long haul. They're playing the long game. Same with Solana. From a stability and uptime perspective, Cardano is better than Solana. Solana's kind of shaky. It has some stability issues, but we can talk about that another day. Can't judge by wins and losses ratio alone. It has to be combined with the rate of return. 100%, Liz. 100%. I have known traders in the past who are like, oh, I'm 99% successful. Okay, wow, that's amazing. I don't know many people who can make that claim. And then all they have is one giant loser, and they're a net loser, even though they're 99% correct. So yeah, win ratio is not the only thing. It's making sure that you have the losses small, the winners big as well. Does the U.S. government use these platforms? Not yet. And I'm glad you said that because I want to show you something here. This is not, let me take the name off here because I just slapped this on and I haven't had a chance to adjust it, so I apologize. So I'm just going to do some stuff on the fly here. So this is from X, and I've been talking about how these different platforms all bring unique properties to the financial markets. And looking at this one here, this is a tweet that came out from I believe Wyoming Wyoming State. And it says, for the podcasters out there, State of Wyoming posted this. At its special meeting on November 15th, 2024, the commission determined the following blockchains to be in scope as candidate blockchains for the development of the initial Wyoming stable token. Now, before I read the rest of that, just let that sink in for a second. Here's Wyoming. Let's be honest, most people haven't been to. It's one of those least populated states in the United States. You're like, Wyoming, it's insignificant. No, they're not. They're actually, from the digital perspective, they're at the forefront of the digital revolution. They're actually really pushing digital assets. You see that last little part there, though? It says, candidate blockchains for the development of the initial Wyoming stablecoin. So now Wyoming is looking at having their own stablecoin. That's pretty important. That means that they're looking at building digital infrastructure throughout Wyoming, and the medium of exchange there would be that stablecoin from the state of Wyoming. That's pretty impressive, right? And I'm hoping that what you see there is you're like, Wyoming, who cares? If Wyoming does this and it's successful and actually generates tax revenue, because remember, the way a stablecoin works is you buy $1 of something, a digital asset. In this case, let's call it the WST, the Wyoming stablecoin. So you buy $1 worth of this WST, and now you can access whatever is attached to that digital infrastructure, right? That whole world that's connected to this, whatever that is. Wyoming now takes that dollar, keeps part of it. Let's say every dollar they're required, and I'm making this up, but let's just as an assumption, let's say that they are required to keep 25% of that in cash for redemptions, right? So there's no run on the bank. And then let's say the other 75% goes into government bonds. So you see where this is going. If I can lock in a long-term 10-year bond at 5%, and it's not like there's going to be 1,000 of these sold. There could be tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars sold. If they sold $1 million of it, they would now be earning on $750,000, 5% rate of return for free. So this is a revenue source for the government of Wyoming, for the state of Wyoming, just by having their own stablecoin. And I think a lot of states might follow suit here. And ultimately what I think it's going to do, it's going to further pressure the U.S. government to say, we've got to start our own. We have to have a U.S.-backed stablecoin. And that'll bring in that central bank digital currency. So to me, this is very interesting to see that a state is saying we're going to have a stable coin. We already had a vote on it. And here's the other thing. Building a portfolio of digital assets. When you do that, look out and see who's using these technologies, right? I mentioned Secret Token, which was up 65% today. No one's using it. I'm not buying it. If I were to tell you that XYZ blockchain, I'm making up a name. If I said or let's say you read this and it said XYZ blockchain has been chosen to be the development platform for the Wyoming stable token. Do you think there's extra value now in XYZ blockchain? I think you would all agree that that's to be a really important thing to know, that there is, once a government or a state or any big entity says we're using this blockchain, value surges. So having said that, look at the bottom of the page here. These are the ones who are in the final candidacy to be part of that blockchain network. Solana, Avalanche, Sui, Stellar, Ethereum, Polygon, Arbitrum, Base, and Optimism. These are all, those last four, Polygon, Arbitrum, Base, and Optimism, are layer 2 solutions. Now, what's missing here? Cardano. And this is a shock. Cardano's based out of Wyoming. And Charles Hoskinson is actually talking about potentially suing the state of Wyoming for not being included in this one, because they check off every single box that is required, but for some reason they were overlooked. Politics. That said, if you look at my portfolio, I own Solana. I own Avalanche. I don't own Sui. Sui's been on my radar for a while. I have not bought any. Stellar, I actually sold Stellar 2 years ago. I do own Ethereum. I do own some Polygon, and that's it for this list. So I'm spreading it around, and I would encourage anybody here who's long-term to think the same way. Is if I'm going to be building a portfolio that I think is going to be for the future of this financial revolution and just evolution of money, then spread it around. I don't know why I got in such a long-winded rant on that one, so thank you, but hope that helped out some of you. So yeah, Solana's on this list, Avalanche, Sui, Stellar, Ethereum. You know, Solana for me, based off of this platform list, would probably be the number one. Solana is faster, it's got really cheap transactions, it's not as stable, but they can fix that. Avalanche is also fairly fast. I think it's 4,500 transactions per second, and cheaper transactions. Sui, I think, is either 100 or 160,000 transactions per second, which means they could theoretically handle every market in the world on one platform. It wasn't overlooked. It wasn't AI. That's what I believe happened as well. And I'm not sure why. I don't know what Charles Hoskinson did, because he does a lot for the state of Wyoming and Montana. He's very active in this community. So kind of surprised to see that happen. Anyway, let's move on from that into other topics du jour. What was the other one I want to talk about? Let's talk about, I think it was, let's see if I got the question. I think it was from Liz. No, this is from Lisa, was asking about the MicroStrategy convertible bonds. How does this all work? It's actually pretty convoluted and kind of messy. So what happens is, and why did let's do this graphic here. I'll start with this graphic. So obviously they are issuing a set of bonds that are zero coupon, meaning you're getting no interest on these bonds. And what you're thinking is, well, why would you buy these bonds? Why would you give MicroStrategy money if there's zero interest, zero coupon bonds? Because they're convertible into other assets down the road. Now, these bonds are set to expire in 2029, so they're a 5-year bond. And upon redemption, there's a specific conversion rate. I actually had to write it down. You get 1.48 shares of MicroStrategy for every $1,000 that you buy. Okay, 1.48 for every 1,000. So $1,000 for 1.48. What that means is the value of MicroStrategy at the time of this auction, right, would technically be $672.40. So what MicroStrategy is telling all these companies is, look, you loan us money. In 5 years or any point in between, and up to 5 years, you can convert your bonds, convert them back into shares of our company, and your average price will be $672.40. Now, the belief is, when you look at MicroStrategy, oops, let me go type that in right, MSTR. The belief is, let's get to the daily. Not a great day today. Exactly. Margaret says selling bonds to buy Bitcoin. That's exactly what it is. And if you look at the bond release statement, it specifically says, there's no mincing of words. It says, this is to buy Bitcoin. So I hate to say this, and I didn't want to use the graphic, but we have to be honest with ourselves here. If you're looking at MicroStrategy, who's selling bonds with the explicit purpose of buying Bitcoin, and that's going to drive the price up. So anyone who's lending MicroStrategy, money by buying these bonds, the expectation is that the price is going to push Bitcoin so much higher that being able to buy MicroStrategy at $672 a share is going to be a steal. Essentially, they're looking at, I might be buying these things for, Merlin, it's growing. To me, it's expectations going to be way more than that within 5 years. And I would think so. However, I had to do it, guys. At its core, honestly, it's a bit of a pyramid, right? It's just a question of how long is this going to be sustainable. Now, I think it's sustainable for a very long period of time, primarily because there has not been adoption yet with Bitcoin around the world. MicroStrategy is the ultimate play for this. If you believe, as I do, that adoption is going to start to slowly increase, that other countries around the world will use it as a currency, as a medium of exchange, then MicroStrategy is the company to buy if you're going to buy a specific stock, without question. However, if something were to happen and the government says, no, we're going to start our own central bank digital currency, that's now going to be the payment network, you can't use Bitcoin in the States, MicroStrategy is doomed, right? So it's a gamble play. However, the upside here is fantastic, because what would happen is they will continue to issue more bonds. So let's say we get to 2029 and the price of MicroStrategy is $1,000 a share, right? Actually, let's make it, I'm going to change it. It's $1,340 per share, $1,340. Now what's going to happen is all of these companies that bought those bonds have now made 100% rate of return on their investment. They're going to look at the next tranche of bonds and go, I'm in. But now what happens is a lot more other companies are going to do it as well and say, I'm going to buy these bonds because I'm buying bonds that are buying Bitcoin, which drive the price of Bitcoin up, which drive the share price up. So you're basically fueling this pyramid by buying these bonds. And it hurts me to say it because I look at pyramids as a scam, right? And I wouldn't call this a scam. It's definitely an investment strategy that has a lot of risk to it, right? So I'm hoping that sheds a little bit of clarity. But just imagine Michael Saylor and his company, not imagine, but this is what's happening. They're selling $3 billion, folks. It's not like they sold 100,000 or a million or 10 million. $3 billion they sold of these bonds, which is why MicroStrategy has such high valuations, because the expectation is that MicroStrategy is going to surge because of this. Now, if MicroStrategy comes in over the weekend or the next 2 weeks and buys $3 billion worth of Bitcoin, we're probably looking at $115,000, $120,000 price tag for Bitcoin, which will make most of us here very happy. Bottom line, don't short Bitcoin. Don't be crazy. Don't be doing that stuff. I thought you were going to talk about that next week. Thank you. No problem, Lisa. I didn't want to make you wait. I wanted to make clear. There was one thing I wasn't quite sure of, and I wanted to make sure I got that part down. But it's an interesting idea. I mean, MicroStrategy is basically saying, we're going to borrow money from people. We don't have to pay them anything. We just give them shares at $672. And let me show you on the chart here where $672 is. All right, let's just change this line here. I'll type in 672.40. That's the conversion price, essentially. That's way up there. I don't know why we had this line on there, but that's a lofty gain from here. Let's see, that would be a gain of about 59%. Well, I'll tell you, if they buy $3 billion worth of Bitcoin, MicroStrategy could easily be at $672. And then what will happen is they'll issue another round of convertible bonds. So, the big risk I see here is that we see steps backwards with adoption. That we see something happen in 2025 where Trump says, oh, well, I was going to do that, but I think it's better if I do this. Could be real dangerous. So I will tell you this. If you're getting into MicroStrategy now, you're okay. I think if you get into it in January, I'd be extremely careful. because we have a lot of promises that have not been met. And if any of those promises don't get filled from Trump, it could have a pretty significant drawdown in the price of Bitcoin. Just as a risk manager, I'm just trying to throw it out there and explain it as clear as I can. I do think Trump's going to deliver. It's easy for him to deliver on the things he said he was going to do, but you'd never know, right? No one has that crystal ball yet. 370 puts for next week, and not bad then on MicroStrategy. 375, I'd be fine with that myself. Yeah. MicroStrategy average Bitcoin cost is approximately 44K. Yep. You know what you haven't heard? Tesla. Tesla owns over $1 billion worth of Bitcoin still, I believe. They didn't sell all of it. I think they still had $1 billion worth of Bitcoin, which means now they're at $3 billion because their average price was $31,000 per Bitcoin. Now, imagine that. You just miraculous. Oh, got another $2 billion worth of profit. From what? From just holding this coin. Gotta love that. Why not just buy MicroStrategy now at 427? You could. You absolutely could. And that's just Steve, we all have to take our own risks here. If you think that the future looks real bright, then go buy it at 427. The math, the structure of this right here, this pyramid that's being built, it would tell you buy MicroStrategy. But I tried to emphasize some risks here because while it sounds amazing, there is the potential that this comes crashing down, and it could be pretty disastrous if it does happen. So just be careful out there. Do not put all your eggs in that basket. I like the selling the put side of things because I collect a lot of premium. MicroStrategy's options premium is pretty high. So you can get really high rates of return for shorter periods of time. Sell weekly options on MicroStrategy, far enough out of the money that if you do get it, you're stoked. But if you don't, I got the premium. Microsoft might get some too. Sailor, meeting with them next week. Oh man, can you imagine? I brought this one up many times. What if Amazon? What if Alphabet? What if Microsoft just add 1% to their portfolio? And I think when you look at my presentation that I gave for bar chart, which I've mentioned many of these points with you guys, if, and it's a big if, we've got two factors here. If we get to the point that corporations are open and happy to own Bitcoin, we'll be at 250 by March. I mean, it really depends when they start buying. But these guys are going to be buying billions. Then you have the banks around the world getting clarity that they can now potentially custody Bitcoin and hold it on their reserves and central banks as well. That's your second major catalyst. The third one, which I spoke very briefly about in that video, is you have a reserve, a strategic reserve of Bitcoin for the United States. And just Google it right now. There are several senators that have the bill ready to go. They're literally like, when Trump gets in office, this is going to get pushed through right away. If that does happen, that's sending a notice to the world that the U.S. is going to start buying Bitcoin in 2025. So they may already be front running us to get ahead of that trade. It could happen. Only about 1,200 Bitcoin left on over-the-counter desk inventory right now. Good luck with that, right, John? 1,200 Bitcoin, that's not going to feed anybody, really. Let's see. I'm going to go back. You guys got a lot of questions and comments. So let me go in here. Oh, sorry. Lisa, he already raised the $3 billion. Correct. It was as of the 21st. So at any moment, that money could be flooding back into the markets and buying Bitcoin. Yeah. And his order may be the one that pushes us through that 100,000 wall. I'd love to be there on the exchange. I don't know which marketplace they use to buy their Bitcoin. I would love just to watch it, just to know that it's going on, to watch that process of somebody buying $3 billion worth of Bitcoin on a centralized exchange. Like, watch it just evaporate. Oh my gosh, it'd be just fantastic to watch. I know, I got to get a life. Let's see, what else we got on here? It is not a scam because they're upfront about it and they're not hiding it. Correct. Yes, I agree with you, Steve. It's not a scam because it's totally transparent. They're not hiding anything. They're very clear about it. Another question that I have is, at what point does the regulatory authorities come in and question this, right? And scrutinize them or maybe stop them from doing this or issuing more. Oh, you've issued too much debt. That could also be a risk for MicroStrategy. So be careful. Isn't that now how Sam Bankman-Fried is running his company? Well, Sam Bankman-Fried was doing all kinds of shady stuff behind the scenes and not disclosing anything. So yeah, Steve's totally right. This is not a scam. It's an investment vehicle that has some substantial risks to it. It does feel like at some point the wild party could come to an end. Otherwise, the sky is the limit on MicroStrategy. As long as Bitcoin keeps going up, yes. If Bitcoin keeps going up, then MicroStrategy is going to continue to have a massive surge. But if we get that big pullback, and again, the market 4-year cycle says it's going to happen next year, I mean, if Bitcoin drops 70 to 80%, as it has done every 4-year cycle, imagine the impact that's going to have on MicroStrategy. And remember, companies like, I think Allianz bought 25% of this $3 billion. 25% went to one European insurance company. That's a pretty big stamp of approval, and kind of ironic that an insurance company is taking this kind of risk. I thought that was kind of interesting. But they've got, $1 billion in there. Excuse me. They got $1 billion on the line. If there is a 75% pullback in price in Bitcoin, I think you'd all agree MicroStrategy is going to implode much more than 75%. And that could have some big ramifications on the big picture. But not worried about that now. I think we'll have that discussion around November of next year. All right. Wow. I was not planning on talking this entire time about MicroStrategy in this, but love it. And this is an entire crypto show today, apparently. Let's see. Les says, if there's a sell-off in Bitcoin, will MicroStrategy have to sell, which might cause a cascading effect down for... Exactly. That's exactly what I'm referencing. Yes, they would have to sell to meet financial obligations. There are some liquidation prices, and I don't know what those liquidation numbers are. You may recall in 2021, there was a lot of talk about their liquidation number because they use collateralized loans, right? They had bought a bunch of Bitcoin with collateralized loans, and everyone kept looking at this number on Bitcoin that if it gets to here, they have to sell everything, and they never got to that level. I think they actually got to one of them, but he got some more funding to cover it. So, yes, it could happen, definitely. Let's see, where else? Man, you guys got so much good talking here today. I guess I'll be rolling MicroStrategy covered calls for a while. Yeah, why not, Lisa? Just don't take too big a risk. Just keep on doing what you're doing and grind away, right? Continue making that rate of return. Why not? I think the train will keep going for a while. Let's see. Why not just buy MicroStrategy? We already covered that one. Microsoft got that one. I'm at Liz selling MicroStrategy puts in the mid 200s for that kind of premium. Yeah, I probably should be doing that as well. I've been enjoying the Rivian. I've been having a lot of fun with Rivian. All my puts and calls expired on Rivian. I wanted to sell some more today for next Friday, but they're only offering 7 cents, and it just wasn't worth it. So we'll see. Next week I'll get some calls against my Rivian. Let's see. Lisa says, but there's only so many Bitcoin available. How is everyone going to manage to buy what they want? That's the key. That is the key. And that's why I'm just grinning ear to ear, because I've got Bitcoin that is not going to be part of that. Big Eb's got his. It's not going to be a part of that as well. So he's going to be... Those that are keeping our Bitcoin are sitting back laughing because these people coming in on institutional accounts trying to buy billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin, they're basically trying to get a cup of water out of a pool that's just continually shrinking faster and faster and faster. At a certain point, they're going to be looking at everybody else going, please, sir, may I have some water? And you're like, well, I'll sell you a Bitcoin at $5 million a piece. Okay, done. So yeah, you have smaller supply. Supply is declining and demand is going up at a parabolic curve right now. And if we start to see, like say, Microsoft or Amazon or Apple start to buy any amount, or the government has a strategic reserve, oh, buckle up, folks. This is not going to be a train anymore. It's going to be a rocket ship. I cannot wait. Can you go over the must-own blockchains again? Again, this is just my opinion, but I'll run through kind of my top. I'll do top 5. This is really tough. Number 1 is Ethereum. And the reason that I say number 1 is Ethereum is because they have the biggest market dominance. They have the network effect. They're massive. They have a lot of problems, right? They're slow. They're kind of expensive, although they're getting better with these layer 2 solutions. So I hate to say it, Ethereum is my number 1. Solana would be my number 2. Solana is a faster network and cheaper, but they have stability issues. And the important part here is this 65,000 transactions per second. That means that they can handle an incredible amount of transaction scalability here. When you look at something like Visa on average only does 2,400 transactions per second. So in my mind, I use 2,400 as the baseline. If this project is going to be the Visa of the world, it's got to be doing more than 2,400 transactions per second. These guys do 65,000. Number 3, I would put Cardano as my number 3. I know that's going to draw some upset angst here, and it's just because of the current political environment. I just think that the way it's changing and Charles Hoskinson's entrenchment in politics now is going to help this one out extensively. Number 3, I would probably say AVAX, Avalanche. And the main reason I like Avalanche is because JP Morgan is using this blockchain. Amazon is using this blockchain. They're actively out there trying to get into big established businesses. So they're entwined already. Now, on the more speculative side, you have SWI. So SWI and Aptos are pretty much the same thing. SWI is one that I do not own. I've been wanting to buy it. I just haven't done it yet, unfortunately, because it's been taken off. But SWI was designed by the old Facebook developers. So SWI and Aptos were basically the same team at Facebook. They just split into 2 separate companies, SWI and Aptos. SWI has become the more popular of the 2, the more utilized. They can do over 100,000 transactions per second. They do parallel processing. And I think that would be my top 5. And maybe the last one on here, it's tough. Maybe Near Protocol. Near, just a really good application, stable, very fast platform as well. So there you go, Margaret. Yeah, who's using these blockchains? Well, that's why I wanted to show you this graphic here today. This to me is fantastic because now governments, state governments, are saying we're going to use these blockchains. I mean, and right away, that would tell me that I want to have a little piece of some of these, right? I'm not saying that I need to load up all in on Solana. I mean, if you go onto social media and follow these guys on YouTube, they're like, oh, I'm all in on Solana. It's the only thing I own. Awesome, right? You're loving it because it's done really well. But what if? We're all traders here. We have to always say, what if? So I cannot have one position only in a company that I think is going to be the greatest one. I'm spreading it around. So as far as allocation right now, Ethereum would be, as far as these layer 1 solutions, these blockchains, Ethereum is my biggest. Solana is number 2. Cosmos, actually, I think is my 3rd. And I'm not that big on Cosmos anymore. They had a great product, great development kit, but they haven't promoted themselves. They haven't got out there. I have a few $1,000s worth of Avalanche, but AVAX is Avalanche. Yep. Amazon's using them, and also it's part of the JP Morgan. What's that? They got a blockchain. I wrote the name down the other day. It used to be called Onyx, but they changed it to like Connectix. I got so many dang notes right here, but I'll get it for you. Yeah, there it is. It's called Kinexys, Kinexys, is the new JP Morgan blockchain, which is something we definitely want to keep our eye on for because JP Morgan is just going to further cement its power by controlling that blockchain and allowing all these other financial firms to connect to it, but they're the kingpins. So JP Morgan, man, that's why I've been bullish on JP Morgan for a while, and this just further solidifies my thought to go. I've only got 8 right now, looking for some more. Cool. Hey, John, having 8 is great. I mean, at least you're fairly diversified, okay? Let's see. You are in a small minority even at that, Janet. What did Janet say? I may have 1 Bitcoin. Hey, Janet, if you have 1 Bitcoin, be proud of it. You're a whole coiner. A whole coiner is, that's an actually elite pedestal. Let me show you. Great. Don't make me do an hour show. I was supposed to wrap this up. My throat's sore, but no, you guys just keep pushing me. Let's go to the largest Bitcoin addresses. Just to give you an idea, if you have 1 whole Bitcoin, called a whole coiner, what percentage of the population do you fall in? You are, I'm going to do it's 1 to 10. You are in a 1.83% of the population. 1.83% of this world has 1 whole Bitcoin. I'm proud to say I'm a part of this. I am a part of that. I wanted to get to the 10, but I just couldn't quite make it. I didn't make it. Good. Yeah, those of you who have a whole Bitcoin, it may not seem like a lot, but it is. Remember, there's only 21 million of them out there. So if I have 1, that means that everybody else is fighting for those 20,999,999. And out of that, 6 million have already disappeared. 6 million have been lost. Okay? So that pool is getting smaller and smaller. Be very proud you've got 1 full Bitcoin. If I wait to get back in, let's see, what does it say? Steve, now that there has been a run on crypto, do I wait for the pullback or just buy now and look back a year from now? That's a tough one, Steve. That's a real tough one to answer. A part of me feels like there's going to be a pullback here in crypto, but I mean, right now the momentum is just, everyone is pouring into it. The Trump campaign and his statements about crypto, Bitcoin, and digital assets are causing a frenzy. And I don't believe it's just people like you and me. I believe that this is this is institution stuff. They're racing to get into this because now it's clear the government's going to support digital assets. Trump has said, I want all businesses that are involved in crypto to come to America and do it here. Wow. I mean, so I don't know. Do we get a pullback? I don't know. It's Steve. I can't answer that one. For me personally, if I had some capital, I would, let's say I had $10,000. I would probably look at something like Bitcoin and say, okay, I'll buy $1,000 a month and dollar cost average in that way. Because I do think you're going to get some sell-offs, but what you don't want to do is wait for the sell-off that never happens, right? We've all done that before. Oh, I'm going to buy it if it pulls back and it just keeps going. That's salt in the wounds. That sucks, but unfortunately, I have some, but not enough. Yeah, maybe leg in over the next couple of months. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think you scale in, dollar cost average, and don't get so hung up on the price. Remember, it's not the price today that matters. It's the price down the road. And if the legislation happens like I think is going to happen, man, we are at the absolute infancy. Can't wait. I'd like to get some now, but hold back some money and go big on the next pullback. Yeah, absolutely. Plus the pending departure of Gary Gensler, that's another bullish factor. I don't have, let me see here real quick. You guys are torturing me today. Let's see, Operation Choke Point. So Operation Choke Point has been this belief that these specific government individuals have been, thwarting progress in the United States. And Nick Carter put this graphic together. He wrote a whole paper on it. Nick Carter, it was great paper, but I don't know. There was a graphic that showed the people. And out of the people that were slowing down progress, like 6 of them have already resigned and left. Today, another member of the SEC is leaving. One of the guys that voted against having a spot Bitcoin ETF, I forgot his name, he's stepping down in January too. So all these anti-crypto people they see the writing on the wall. They like, well, shoot, we took the wrong stance on this one. We better get out of here while the getting's good. So most of the people from Operation Checkpoint 2.0, which stopped progress in crypto and digital assets, are leaving, especially all the top people, all the top brass. Gensler, they're gone. And that to me it's painting a very, very positive picture. Now, I don't want to be all one-sided and like, this is the greatest thing ever, load the boat, we're going to the moon. But it certainly looks much more positive than it does negative. Yeah, there we go. Lazararo, something like that. Yep, that's it. Yeah, crypto haters. There you go, Dan. Yeah, dollar cost average in. Don't go crazy, right? Just dollar cost average in a little bit. I've told my friends this that have kids. I said, you want to do your kid a big favor? Buy $100 a month in Bitcoin and just put it into an account and leave it alone. Don't ever touch it. Just $100 and do that monthly. Don't even look at it. And by the time that kid reaches 18, holy cow, they'll be paying for college and have a house next to the college campus. It'll be that much. I mean, just crazy. CB, a new name. I haven't seen you in here, CB. Welcome to the show. If I want to ride that Bitcoin wave without knowing about actually buying Bitcoin, should I buy IBIT or better to do Bitcoin spot? It's better to do Bitcoin spot, like open a Coinbase account or Kraken, Gemini, buy physical Bitcoin, and then take it off the exchange. Put it on cold storage. I got him sitting here. Cold storage like a Ledger, Trezor, KeepKey, something like that. If you don't want to do all that, you can just buy it on the exchange. That's the best way to do, and just maybe keep it there. The entry point would be buy IBIT, right? Buy IBIT and just hold it that way. Okay. There you go, Lisa. I'm actually working on an article right now about the power of buying just a little bit over time and the impact it would have, especially on someone who has like a newborn child. We always talk about, you should start investing in your 20s. Could you imagine if when you had a child, every month you bought $100 worth of the S&P 500, right? Let alone Bitcoin. And you just did every single month until the day they turned 18. By the time they got to college, they'd be multimillionaires based off 8% compounding rate of return. Figure on and off over the past few years. Oh, cool, CB. The name looked new to me. All right. That's it. Didn't want to do a 1 hour show, but you guys keep pulling me in Earnings for Monday, you've got Zoom, you've got Agilent Technologies, and BHP. And then on the economic calendar, we don't have a lot to discuss there for Monday, but I will bring it up here for you anyway. For the 25th, which we will be doing a show, you can see I got nada for the U.S. It's a little bit going on here for Europe. So there we go. Let us know when your paper is ready. Okay. Do a class for your community? Sure. Absolutely. You know, power of compounding, I think it was Einstein that said the eighth wonder of the world is compounding interest, and it really is. You don't think about it as it's going, but as time goes by, it starts to compound. Those rates of return get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. It's like, holy cow. You know, the curve goes exponential down the road. And I built some charts before for Trading Academy's content and showing that, you know, if you invested, let's say, $100 a month and you kept doing so, it's like a line. It doesn't curve at all. And then after a couple of years, there's more money in there. That 8% compounding rate of return starts to steepen that curve. By the time you get to 40 years, it's straight vertical. Like, oh, you're making $100,000 a year in interest for doing nothing. Like, yeah, great. And then that compounds and that compounds. So, yeah, absolutely. Lisa, my daughter had her first job at 15. I made her put 50% of her paycheck in savings in a Roth. She's nice. That's awesome. You know, and you know the thing is, you taught her a couple of important lessons. Number one, saving and watching things grow. But number two is, I don't need to spend as much money as I could. You took 50% of her check out there. She could have gone and just blown that, as most kids do, right? They get their check like, sweet, I'm going to buy this and this and this and this. You can buy enough with half of your paycheck. So awesome. Good for her. That's great. All right, everybody. I'm going to go have some hot tea and soothe my throat. You guys have a fantastic weekend. If there's something you want me to discuss on Monday's show, let me know. Email me at tradermerlin@gmail.com or put it down below any of the YouTube videos. We got a 57-minute show today, so I hope that you enjoyed, learned something. I know we did all. Yes, we are doing a show on Monday. I'm going to do a show Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, no Thursday or Friday. Okay? Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Have a fantastic weekend. Go do something fun. I'm going to rest and recoup and hope my football team wins on Sunday. Take care, everybody. I'll see you Monday.